The first thing to do is always to go to arena.topcoder.com, the site of the Topcoder Arena. The first time you go, you'll need to create an account. Click here to register. You get a basic form to fill out. First and last name should be self-explanatory. Username is something that you create yourself. It could be something from your name, could be something creative, or maybe a combination of both. Age and country also should be pretty self-explanatory. For your email, you can use a personal email or a work email. If you're doing something that's associated with work, for instance a private event we're holding, you'll want to probably use your work email. Password has at least 3 requirements: capitals, lowercase, numbers, and symbols. You must use at least 3 of those 4 items for your password to be considered acceptable. Check off the I agree box and click sign up and you're done. You now have a notification that you'll get an email. Click on the link in the email, just like with many services, and your account will be fully activated. Signing into the Topcoder Arena is as simple as entering in the username and password that you created when you signed up and clicking Log In. Once you're signed into the arena, you see several things: a list of upcoming matches, any matches that are currently active, some information about yourself, and a little chat area where you can talk with other people who may be online. Up at the top is the link for practice problems. Clicking on the link for practice problems will load up a list of available problems that you can use for practice. It takes a few moments for the list to load. Once it does, you'll see a list of all the different problem names and some information about their difficulty. This status column indicates whether or not you have worked on that problem before. I'm going to just scroll down briefly through the list and find one that looks like it might be interesting. The problem statement area, which describes the problem, gives you a little bit of prose explaining what you need to do, gives you a definition telling you exactly what your class and your method name should look like, and any parameters that are going to be passed to your method. Scrolling down a bit, you'll see the limits telling you how much memory you have to work with and how fast your solution must run. And lastly, you'll see constraints, which is more important information about the values of the parameters that you can expect to see. The bottom half of the screen is the coding area. Clicking the gear allows you to change the language in which you're coding. I'll use Java for this example, but you can feel free to use whichever one you like the best. I'm going to look down at my method definition so I know exactly how I should structure my code. I'll start by putting together my class name and my method name. Do make sure that both of them are declared public, or else your code will not be able to be run properly. Note that I might have spent several minutes thinking about the problem before I actually started coding this, but since this is just an example, I'll just put in a little comment here saying that in reality, I would do something more interesting, and hopefully actually have code that works. For now, I'm just going to return an empty result, just something that will give the right type of return. When you're happy with your code, click Compile, and you can see if your code compiles properly. In this case, my code does compile without issue. Note, however, that let's say I had a typo or for some reason there was a problem with my code. If I tried clicking compile, I would get an error message telling me what was wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that error, recompile, and it says that my code compiled successfully. Once your code is compiled, you can test it against several pre-existing example cases. I can open up a single one and hit run, and it will tell me what happened, what my code actually returned, whether it was right or wrong, and how quickly it ran. Alternately, I can check off check all and hit run test, and it will actually test all of the example cases for me. There are more test cases besides just the examples, but at a minimum, you want to be sure your code passes the examples. Once you're happy with all of your code, click the Submit button, and that will officially submit your solution. Your score will be based upon the total time it took you to come up with your solution and submit it. When a match is active and loaded in the system, you will see details listed under Active Matches, including the time for registration and the time for the various different contest phases. If you would like to register for the match, click on the blue button that says Register. You'll see terms and conditions, and below that, if applicable, you'll see any questions or entry codes necessary for registering. Read over the terms and conditions and confirm any questions that you have to answer. When you're ready, click I agree to be registered. You'll now see a confirmation that you're registered for the match. Once you're registered, you'll no longer see the blue register button, but instead will see a little tag indicating that you are already registered for the match. Note that you must register for a match in order to participate in it. Beginning shortly after registration ends and continuing the entire duration of the match, you'll be able to enter. The blue Enter button will appear where the Register button used to be. Clicking on the button will allow you to enter the match. Once you've entered the match, you'll see a list of people in your room with you and a countdown timer if the match has not yet started. Once the coding phase for a match has begun, you'll be able to see a list of the available problems, along with their point values. Typically, folks will start with the easiest one and work their way up, but there's no requirement to do so. You'll also be able to see which problems you have opened yet or not opened yet. To open a problem, simply click on the link that says Unopened, and you'll be brought to that problem. You'll notice the setup here looks very, very similar to what you saw with practice problems, where you've got a problem description and an area for your coding. What you'll do here will be exactly as you did in practice. Additionally, from here, you can view a list of the other people in your room and see how they're doing, see which problems they've opened, and how many points they got for each one that they have submitted so far. This can be a useful way to see how you're doing in comparison to everybody else. When you're done with this problem, hitting Back to Match will bring you back to the list of problems. When the challenge phase begins, click on Challenges and Leaderboard to go to the list of problems that have been submitted. If you look at the point value for anybody else's submissions, you can click on it to view their problem. As you look over the solution, you can try to make a determination if some set of inputs might cause it to fail. If you think you can make it fail, click on the challenge link. You can enter in your own test case or select from one of the pre-existing example test cases. Check off the one you want, and if necessary, fill out the fields for the inputs that you want to use for your challenge. Click on the challenge button, and with any luck, your challenge will be successful. After you're done looking at a problem, click Back to Match to be returned to a list of submissions.